One of the questions I get asked all the time from people making the move in Lancaster or people looking to relocate in Lancaster is how much can I get for my budget? And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down what you can afford for $500,000 or less in various parts of Lancaster County. So kicking us off, we've got 41 West Lemon Street. This is a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo in downtown Lancaster. It's one of the nicer developments, I would say. As you can see, you've got these nice vaulted ceilings. This is on the market for $499,000. Now, the pros of being in this area is that you're very close to all of the restaurants. There's the Fulton Theatre nearby, there's Central Market. So there's tons of entertainment options and restaurant options for you, only a few minutes walk. The other nice thing about downtown Lancaster is that you are only about 10-15 minutes away from being out in the countryside. So if you don't love being in the city all the time, you do have great access to get out further as well. If you're used to living in places like Philadelphia or New York, the HOA isn't If you're used to living in places like New York or Philadelphia, the HOA is not terrible. It's around $430 a month. That does include all of the maintenance. There's a gym area as well, and you do have one garage space inside the building also. Things to think about with downtown Lancaster is that the taxes are going to be a little bit higher, so we'll do a breakdown of roughly what this would cost for you to purchase. Now, the good news about being a condo, though, is that your insurance will be slightly less. Now, let's say you're putting 10% down on the purchase price of $499,000, interest rate of 6%. Homeowners insurance, that's very high. Let's change that down to about $1,000. And the condo association dues were $50. Property taxes for this one are around $6,000 a year. So if you add all of that up, your monthly payment is going to be around $3,893. That's including your mortgage insurance, the HOA dues, taxes and insurance, and also your principal and interest. Now, still in the city, but more typical of what you're going to find is going to be these beautiful townhouses, either semi-detached or middle of row homes. You're going to find that anywhere from like the $250,000 range on the south side of the city up to about $600,000 or $700,000 if you're near Franklin and Marshall College. Now, this one here has been on the market for a little while. It's just at a price drop, so it's $499,000. And what you'll see is you've got the nice screened-in porch. It's the red brick. You've got original hardwood floors, and then a lot of them have been updated. So this one, like I say, has been on the market a little bit longer. It has got the central air. You can kind of see the little outlets there on the screen. A more modern kitchen. And basically, this home is a 5-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom property that has had some updates throughout the year. You will find that there are much more updated versions than this. So this one may even be a little bit overpriced, I would say. It'll be interesting to see what it sells for. But you can probably find a pretty nice home in downtown Lancaster for around $350,000 to $450,000, depending on the location that you want to be in. Taxes on this property are actually higher at around $7,400. That's pretty high. The house that I'm in right now, my taxes are around $4,300, but it was a much lower purchase price. Homeowners will also be a bit higher than that because it's an older property. I probably budgeted somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500 a month for your home insurance throughout the year, depending on if you have a swimming pool and other things like that. So for this one, no HOA. Because the taxes are higher, even though we have a similar purchase price, your payment is going to be around about $3,600, so a couple of $100 less. That's balanced out by the additional tax and insurance price, but there's no HOA. Moving on to Elizabethtown. So Elizabethtown is about 25 to 30 minutes away from Lancaster, out towards Harrisburg, and you will get a kind of variety of either slightly smaller downtown living homes or something like this, where you're in the countryside, 4-bedroom, 2.5-bathroom, about 2,400 square feet. Built in 2003 on half an acre of land. Certainly get a lot more space for your money and those more modern features. So maybe not quite as much character as those downtown living ones. It is going to be a little bit more remote. Because like I say, you're 30 minutes away from downtown Lancaster. You're probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from places like Giant. But then you are also pretty close to Harrisburg Airport. So you're about 20, 30 minutes away from there. What's nice about it is you've got plenty of transport options, and the taxes typically will be a little bit less whilst getting more for your money. Monthly payment wise, they're all going to be pretty similar. They're going to be between around $3,400 on the low end up to about $4,000, but these ones are definitely coming in a little bit lower. Again, the 10% down payment, 6% interest rate. Homeowners insurance, I'm keeping it a little bit higher because these ones tend to have things like septic and wells, so that may run you a little bit higher insurance. And then property taxes are around $6,000. So all in all, lowest payment we've seen so far of around $3,400. You are basically going to find that if you're looking for a bigger family home that has a lot more space, has a backyard, a bit more secluded, then places like Elizabethtown are going to give you far more for your money. There's not going to be as much to do out there, but you are only 20 to 30 minutes away from Lancaster itself. So not a terrible drive if you want to get a little bit more arts and culture. Moving out towards Ephrata. So Ephrata, you're going to get a lot more home for your money. So if you basically are on a bit of a tighter budget, but you want to have a larger home. Something like this is a 5-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom property, just under 2,800 square feet. It's for $499,000. It's a newer build, so built in 2016. We've got property taxes of around $5,300. And kind of going through the home, as you can see, it's a much more, typical neighborhood house, much more modern, not as much character, but you are going to be that little bit further out. So you're probably about 20 to 30 minutes the other side of Lancaster compared to Elizabeth. So you are kind of moving out more towards like the Philadelphia or the Carlisle and Reading area. But if you're used to living in places like New Jersey, you'll find you're going to get a decent amount of space, a lot more house, and far lower property taxes. If you're looking at a $499,000 purchase price with the same terms we spoke about previously, home insurance is maybe a little bit less because it's newer, and property taxes, again, are lower. You're looking at a payment of around $3,400 a month. Now, if you were to push the budget a little bit more, for $550,000 in Mountville, which is about 15 minutes west of Lancaster, you can get something like this on Green Ridge Drive. So this is $550,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom property with 3,200 square feet. They are built in around the early 2000s, around 2005. And what you see as we kind of go through is you are getting a little bit more of that kind of opulence and space. We've got the vaulted ceilings. They don't tend to be on huge lots. However, you're a stone's throw away from Lancaster City. You're about 10, 15 minutes away from places like Giant. There's lots of shopping centers on Lititz and Fruitville Pike. So you've got great access to shopping. You're also only about 30 minutes away from York, Pennsylvania. It's a great place to be able to get to other places from as well. Property taxes are what you would expect for a home of this price point in this area, so around $6,200. Homeowners insurance of $1,500 is going to bring your payment up to $3,791. That's at a home purchase price of $550,000. That's why sometimes it's important to look at the monthly payment rather than the purchase price, as this is $50,000 more than the 2-bedroom condo in downtown Lancaster, but the payment is actually slightly lower. Finally, looking at Lititz, and Lititz is going to command more of a premium in some of these other areas. So for $486,500, this home sold earlier this year. It is a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom property built in 1977. Split level home. So if we kind of go through it, again, it's relatively updated. So they've done a nice version of this. You probably maybe want to update some of the countertops or something like that. But you're getting a decent amount of square footage. It's a very popular area. You're only about 15 minutes away from downtown Lancaster. Also great access if you need to get back over towards that York area. And you've got a fully finished walkout basement as well. Something that is interesting just to note is that this home went on the market on the 27th of February. It went pending just 3 days later. It was listed at $450,000 and it actually sold for that $486,000 number. So just be mindful in these areas that if you look at the purchase price, if it seems a little bit too good to be true, it probably is. And it's likely there'll be multiple offers. If it's been on the market for more than 10 or 14 days, you're probably going to be closer to getting it at asking price or below. Property taxes were a little bit lower on that one, so let's just pop that into our calculator. I'll choose that mid-range for our insurance, and then there's lower taxes of $4,400. It's going to give you a payment of around $3,271. So which one should you choose? Well, it's going to depend on what the needs of your family are. If you're looking for something that is going to give you more of that downtown living life, Lancaster City has plenty of options, whether you're looking for a updated condo or something more characterful in one of those townhouses. You're only going to be minutes walk away from places like the Fulton Theatre, all the restaurants downtown, and also some great local shops. If you want a bit more space, move up towards Ephrata, and you're definitely going to get more for your money there. Taxes tend to be a little bit lower, and like I say, if you're looking for maximum amount of space for the least amount of money, that's probably the way to go. Lititz is going to command a premium price, and you're probably going to get something that's a little bit older or a little bit smaller for your money, but you are only 10 to 15 minutes away from Lancaster City itself. It also is voted regularly as one of the best small towns in the country also. If you're looking for something that splits the gap between York and Lancaster, Mountville could be a great option, and you can get plenty of very, very lovely homes there in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. And if you're looking at going a little bit further afield, again, something like Elizabethtown could be a good option. If you're not used to systems like septic and well, though, I would be warned that the further you go out of the main center, Elizabethtown, the more likely you are to have some of those alternative sewer systems. So just making sure you budget for maintenance accordingly. A final pro about Elizabethtown is there is a train station there, so you get easy access from Elizabethtown straight to Harrisburg, and that train also goes through Philadelphia up towards New York. If you're thinking about making the move to Lancaster County, then click this video here to see just how competitive is it. And if you just want to learn a little bit more like what's it like to live here, then click this video here. And if you're wondering, what's it like to live in Lancaster County, click this video here. And if you are thinking about potentially making that move, then click the link in the description below to book a call and we can go through your options.